Bueno, buenos días. Vamos a tener hoy el placer de hacer una presentación que la vamos a desarrollar toda en inglés porque las personas invitadas pues son de habla inglesa y creo que es una oportunidad muy buena para conocer en detalle el informe del World Economic Forum, ¿no? Okay, welcome to this webinar. Today we have the pleasure to have two people from the World Economic Forum. Will be introduced by María Obiols. She is part of the board of directors of AEDIPE in Catalonia. Today we will share the report Future of Jobs 2025 made by the World Economic Forum. At AEDIPE we are convinced that in addition of providing to our associates with training to be up to date in their role and propose discussion of current issues, it's important to spend time thinking about trends. And this is the reason because we organized this meeting to know in detail the conclusions of the report that identify the trends for the economic, for the world of the future of work. Trends are a topic that we have been working during the last time. In 2021, after the pandemic, we work in a report of the new ways of working with the participation of more than 500 managers in Spain, and we identify the new trends that we have been using for discussing in webinars, conference during the three last years. In this sense, this year we will launch a panel discussion for each executive, and we want to know during one to two or three times during the year, discuss with them and identify trends for our activity. Okay, thank you very much to attend this webinar. And now María Obiols will introduce both speakers today. Thank you.
Gracias, Pedro. And thank you everybody for being here today. It's, as Pedro said, it's a pleasure for us. It is clear that the world is changing and the world of jobs also. So it has been changing since the COVID, even before the pandemic, and the pandemic maybe accelerated some trends, no? But the actual socioeconomic reality is playing an important role on those changes, no? So this fifth edition of the Future of Jobs report is not only brings back the disruptive trends that will impact our work environment in the next 5 years, but also serves as a unique tool to identify opportunities and face the future successfully for everybody and for the companies, no? It is clear that change is a constant reality. And for nearly a decade, this study has provided us with a chance to keep up by referring future socio-economic and technological trends worldwide, since the report gathers perspective from over 1,000 business leaders who employ more than 14 million workers in 22 sectors across 55 countries all over the world. So it's a big piece of reality. At AEDIPE, as Pedro, our president, just said, we are members from the European Association for People Management since late 80s. And through it, we are partners of the World Economic Forum, and we have led the data collection in Spain through our members. Some of you, I guess you are connected today, no? And this is a part of our interest in continuing to support initiatives that accompany talent development beyond our borders, Europe and the world. This year, as Pedro said, we believe that it was important to go beyond simply of sharing the information through media and the social media and the press, the results of the report. And we thought it would be really interesting to hold today's webinar, which we are really sure that will allow us not only to explore deeper into the results that we have been, all of us, looking at already, but also to interact with a part of the team that developed the report. This is a unique experience for us. That's why we are really, truly delighted to have with us today, live from Geneva, from the World Economic Forum headquarters in Geneva, Ricky Lee, she's the head of data and analytics, and she has also previously participated in other reports such as the Global Gender Gap, and collaborates with her university, Yale, where she completed her master's degree, and Ximena Játiva, that currently she's the head of education, skills, and learning at the World Economic Forum, and who was also previously has worked in UNICEF, or an organization as UNICEF, and the University of Fribourg, where she got her PhD. Ricky and Ximena, thank you for being here today. And for us, it's, as I said, it's a unique opportunity to hear firsthand about the key highlights, not only for the whole report, but also for the Spanish market. I don't want to take more time myself because I want to make the most of your presence. So I'll stop here and I'll bring you the floor. But just before beginning, a quick reminder for the participants. Just remember that you can send all your questions during all the webinar. You can send the questions that you have, and we will try to answer them at the end of the session. So there's a chat, as always in Zoom. You send us the questions, and I will try to wrap up everything. And at the end of the session, we will try to answer. Okay. Thank you very much. And Ximena, I think that you're beginning, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria, and thank you to all of you, and really for helping us making this report happen by disseminating it, and also by providing your answers to that made the Future of Jobs 2025 happen. So today, my colleague Ricky and I would like to walk you through the overarching findings of the recently released Future of Jobs report 2025, both at the global level, but also specifically for Spain. I will walk you through the global findings, and my colleague Ricky will walk you through the country-specific findings. But as Maria said, the Future of Jobs report 2025 is our flagship report, and it brings together the perspectives of over 1,000 employers that collectively represent over 14 million workers around the world. So let me start with the global findings. So the Future of Jobs report identified 5 major drivers shaping skills and workforce practices over the next 5 years. The first one is technological change, which is by far the most diverging trend, the most impactful, according to the results of this year's report. So both most of the jobs that are expected to grow as a result of technological change, and most of the jobs that are expected to decline are due to this trend. And I walk you through more specifically about the findings later on in this presentation. Next, we have demographic shifts. We also see that the green transition is an important driver of both job creation and job destruction in the next 5 years, but it's by far the biggest job creator. And then we have economic uncertainty and geoeconomic fragmentations, and these drivers are fundamentally reshaping how we work and also the skills that are needed in the future. In the next slide, I'm going to walk you through what is the impact of these different trends on jobs. So let me start with the red here. So all the factors that I just mentioned are expected to displace 92 million jobs, and that is 8% of today's employment, which is a significant number. And on the other hand, this displacement is offset by the creation of 170 million jobs on green in this graph, which is 14% of today's employment. So in overall, you can see that there is a net job creation of around 7% of the total employment, or 78 jobs that are expected to be created in the next 5 years. And in the middle, you have over 1 million jobs for which they are going to remain stable, at least in terms of name. But even for all those over 1 billion jobs, there is a lot of disruption that is going to happen in the next 5 years in terms of the skills that are going to be demanded and the training opportunities that are available for employers in the future. So let's look at some of our results about which are the jobs that are the largest. Let's start with the largest growing and declining jobs. And here we mean like when we talk about the largest growing and declining jobs, we are talking about the growth in terms of total job numbers. And what we observe here, and what it is surprising by a lot of people, is that we observe frontline workers that are predicted to see the largest growth in absolute term. And this includes, as you can see, the first one, farmers, which are jobs that represent the core of the economy. We also see delivery drivers, construction workers, salespersons, and food and processing workers. Among the list of the top largest growing jobs, we are also seeing care professionals, such as nursing professionals, social work and counseling professionals, personal care aides, that are also expected to grow significantly over the next 5 years. And as you can see here, teachers are also among the jobs that are expected to grow the most in terms of absolute numbers. We can see education roles such as university and higher and secondary education teachers. On the other side, what we are observing in terms of absolute numbers is that the largest declining jobs are jobs such as clerical and secretarial workers, such as cashiers, ticket clerks, and administrative assistants, that are expected to see the largest decline in absolute numbers. But if we go to the next slide here, here we are looking at the fastest growing and declining jobs. And what this means is that the growth in terms of percentage terms relative to their size today. And what we can observe here is that the picture is very different from the one that we saw before. You can see here that there is a clear story about tech side and about the tech side for the growing jobs. You can see that the fastest growing job is big data specialist. We see fintech engineers, AI and machine learning specialists. We also see software application developers, a lot of jobs that are related to technological change. A very interesting finding this year, if you look at the jobs just at the end of the top 15, is that we are observing jobs such as environmental engineers or renewable energy engineers among the top fastest growing jobs. And these are jobs that are directly the result of increasing efforts to adapt to climate change and the green transition. So the growing importance of the green transition is really showing up in the top fastest growing jobs. And then we also get the fastest declining jobs, which again are pretty much based around clerical secretarial type of work. So that is a result that is directly expected due to technological change, which I mentioned before is one of the trends that is the most divergent, is both creating a lot of jobs, but at the same time also destroying a lot of jobs. But with the positive takeaway that there is a net job growth as a result of this. As I mentioned before, even for the jobs that remain stable, and especially for those that are going to change in the future, skill sets are rapidly evolving. And by 2030, employers expect that 39% of worker skills will change as a result of these different trends. And although this number is very high still, we have observed by comparing this result to the previous editions of this report that skills disruption has slowed down from a 44% back in 2023 and even a 57% at the onset of the pandemic. As Maria mentioned before, the pandemic changed a lot of things, that also it changed a lot of skills. And one of the potential explanations that we have observed for this slowdown of skill disruption is that a lot of companies have been investing in training, in upskilling and reskilling. We have observed more companies now incorporating training into the long-term learning strategies than in previous editions, which is a positive takeaway as well. So we ask employers which are the core skills today and which are the skills that are going to grow in importance in the future. And the picture today is analytical thinking remains the most important core skill in 2005. And this skill has remained in the top in the last two editions of this report. This is followed by resilience, flexibility, and agility, which compared to previous editions of the report has grown significantly in importance. Then we also have leadership and social influence, as well as creative thinking and motivation and self-awareness. But which are the skills that are going to grow in importance in the next 5 years? So again, we can see the impact of technological change in terms of shaping the skill sets that are going to be demanded in the future. We can see that the three top fastest growing skills are AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, and technological literacy. But one of the key takeaways that I would like you to take from this report is that it's not only about technological skills, the story of the future. The importance, these fastest growing skills are also complemented by other human-centered skills such as resilience, flexibility, and agility, and curiosity and lifelong learning, which are among the top 10. But we can also see leadership and social influence, talent management, and analytical thinking. And again, a very interesting finding of this year report is how environmental stewardship is now among the top fastest growing skills by 2030. So this is a sneak peek of the global findings. My colleague Ricky is going to walk you through which are the specific findings for Spain and the talent outlook prospects in the next 5 years. So Ricky, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ximena. Before I dive into the specific country insights, I want to extend a big thank you, muchas gracias, to everyone. First to Maria, Pedro, and the team at the Asociación Española de Dirección de Personas. Sorry, my Spanish is not very good, but I tried to pronounce the name well, for coordinating the survey collection and helping us to collect the data and the insights to understand the labor market in the next 5 years. And also thanks to a lot of you who participated in the survey, contributing your organization's strategies and outlook in the next 5 years. Without your inputs, the country level insights would not be possible. So I really want to start by saying this, these country insights would definitely come from your valuable contribution. So I want to walk you through what are the trends that shape Spanish labor market by 2030. And just like what Pedro has said at the beginning, what are the trends that impact your day-to-day business operations in the next 5 years? So to start with, we find that green transition trends, technological change, as well as economic uncertainty are expected to shape the labor market in the country. More than 60% of the employers that we survey view that carbon reduction efforts, as well as broadening digital access, are driving business transformation in their organization. And this is higher than what the European executives have been thinking. In Europe, the figure is 51%, and you can see at the global level, the number is even slightly lower for the carbon reduction trend. I want to bring your attention to the second highest macro trend, broadening digital access. Everyone is talking about technologies when it comes to the future of work. And what are the technologies that are shaping the labor market? AI, of course, we find that 88% of Spanish employers are selecting AI as a transformative technology. Robots and autonomous systems, as well as energy technologies. These are the top 3 technologies that are most prominent in shaping the labor market in the next 5 years in the country. And what are the specific jobs and how are the labor market, the number of jobs getting impacted in Spain? Well, our data shows that 19%, almost 1/5 of Spanish labor force are changing. Considering 21 million of employment today in your country, this means that 4 million workers in Spain, their jobs will get disrupted by 2030. And some of the growing jobs are similar to the global job list that my colleague Ximena just introduced. AI machine learning specialists, data analysts and scientists, business development professionals are expected to grow fastest, whereas some of the clerical manual work, such as administrative assistants, executive secretaries, data entry clerks, are expected to decline in the next 5 years. What about the skills aspects? Well, similar to the global trends, we find that 37% of the skills among the Spanish workforce today is about to change in the next 5 years. Our data shows that what are the key skills, the core skills in 2025 that your company needs to invest in right now, and how are these skills evolving by 2030? So the top 5 skills of right now, today in 2025, are quite an interesting list of skills. You have resilience, flexibility, and agility, supported by almost 4 in every 5 employers that we survey in Spain. And then another hotspot compared with the global level is the empathy and active listening skills. 69% of the executives believe that this is an important skill today, which is way higher than the global level. This is followed by leadership and social influence skills, analytical thinking, as well as motivation and self-awareness. If you look at the right-hand side of the screen, the skills of increasing use by 2030, no surprise, it's a combination of technical skills as well as social-emotional skills. So AI and big data, network and cybersecurity skills, as well as technological literacy are among the top 5. There's also a hotspot I want to highlight in Spain, leadership skills. 73% of employers think this is a skills of growing importance in the next 5 years, way higher than the global average. So this might tell something about how you want to invest in training your employees in the next 5 years. This is a very interesting data point that is new that we to introduce in this year's report. How do employers look at the upskilling and reskilling outlook, especially under the condition that the skill landscape is rapidly changing? Well, we use the 100 workforce analogy. If the Spanish workforce were 100 people, 63 of the workers in the country will need training by 2030. Among these 63, 31 will be upskilled and stay in the current role. 21 will be upskilled and redeployed to a new position. And 11 will be unlikely to be upskilled. Well, 11 might seem not so much, but translating into the Spanish workforce size, it means that more than 2 million of the workers today might miss the opportunity to be trained, upskilled, and then look for opportunities in the job market. I hope this creates some urgency among us, how we can work together to improve the workforce situation with training, upskilling, and reskilling. So we also ask the employers, what keep you awake at night? What are the barriers to transformation in the next 5 years? Skill gaps, as well as inflexible regulatory framework, are expected to pose significant barriers to companies operating in Spain. 66% identify skill gaps as the most evident transformation barrier. And this is followed by regulatory framework voted by 51%, more than half of the employers that we survey in the country. And this 51% is significantly higher than Europe and in global. So this might result in some kind of discussion how we can work with the policymakers, with our governments to create a better condition for human resource strategy and planning. I also want to shed light on the talent availability outlook. How are employers projecting the talent availability for Spain in the next 5 years? So first, I encourage you to look from top to the bottom. Talent availability when hiring is where the employers feel the most pessimistic about. More employers expect talent hiring availability to worsen than the number of employers expecting it to improve. And when it comes to talent development, employers are generally more optimistic, more positive for the outlook in the next 5 years. And for talent retention, there's a slightly higher number of employers that view talent retention will improve than those who expect it to worsen. And also, you can compare the Spanish outlook with the European and the global outlook. We find that the Spanish employers that we survey is in general more optimistic than Europe and versus the rest of the world. The Spanish number here, I put it in the slide, is 31% include hiring availability to improve in the next 5 years. Although it's slightly lower than the 49%, in Europe, the number is actually worse. It's like 21%. So it still shows some level of optimism, but this optimism is not given. We still need to work proactively to increase talent availability in the market. How can we do that? Well, we ask the employers, what are the public policy measures and what are the business practice measures that we can work together to improve talent availability in your organization? I will just group these top 5 public policies into 2 groups. The first one is related to reskilling and upskilling. There is a high number, funding for reskilling and upskilling is selected by 65% of the employers, view it as an effective public policy tool to improve talent availability. And if you look at the third ranked public policy measure, provision of reskilling and upskilling is also one of the hottest public policy measures welcomed by the organizations that we surveyed. For reskilling and upskilling, I think there is clearly a space for collaboration between the companies and the governments. I think this is also reflected in another question that we asked. More than 30% of the companies that we survey in Spain prefer public-private hybrid reskilling funding compared with 18% globally. So there's clearly a space that the government and companies can jointly fund the training programs. And also the second group, I think it's connected to the flexibility in terms of regulations. Just now, when I talked about the transformation barriers, regulatory flexibility is among the top concerns for executives that we survey in Spain. Well, here we kind of specify which public policies that we expect the regulations to be more flexible. Flexibility on hiring and firing practices selected by more than 60% of these employers. Changes to labor laws related to remote work. I believe it's also a very high share selecting this particular public policy measure, as well as flexibility on setting wages, also welcomed by almost half of the employers that we survey in the country. Looking at the other side of the coin, we see that 77% of the respondents plan to enhance the progression and promotion processes to attract talents. A higher than global average share of employers offer remote and hybrid work opportunities or offer support for workers with caregiving responsibilities, highlighting the emphasis of flexibility measures to improve talent attractiveness for their company and for their industry. With that, I want to conclude my presentation with 3 main takeaways. First, the labor market is clearly changing. 19% of the jobs will get disrupted in Spain. 37% of skills will get disrupted in Spain in the next 5 years. Second, we really need to invest in reskilling and upskilling today to make sure no one is left behind. Thinking about the 2 million workers who might be unlikely to be upskilled, we really need to action today to make sure everyone can adapt to the changing landscape of the labor market. Last but not the least, there needs to be partnership from the governments and from the businesses, public-private partnership, to work together to prepare the companies, the individuals for the future of work, for the future of the labor market in Spain. Thank you so much, and please feel free to scan the QR code to access the full Future of Jobs report, and there you can also find a country profile for the Spanish data. And I will open the floor for questions and let Maria to moderate the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricky, and thank you, Ximena. It was really clear, and it was useful to understand how Spain comparing to the rest of the countries, no? I have one question myself about the barriers and opportunities for labor transformation in Spain. As you have seen, there's this barrier of labor regulations and laws that our employers are concerned about. Have you seen this in other, which kind of other countries have you seen this concern? And it's also in Europe, or it's in other countries in around the world, in developing or not? Or which other countries do you see that they are also concerned about that?
I would need to look at the specific data set. I don't have the question at hand, but I can perhaps share with you what's the global global concerns and highlight how Spanish employers see the transformation barriers slightly differently from the global values. So globally, employers also agree that skill gaps in the labor market is the top concern for almost everyone in the world. And this is followed by organization culture and resistance to change. And then it's the regulatory framework. So in Spain, the second and third place are kind of like flipped around. So basically, there are more countries that see organization culture, mainly in Eastern Asia, see organization culture as a barrier to change, but less so in terms of inflexible regulatory framework. But I'm happy to dig a bit more in terms of the data and highlight which are the other countries that also pinpoint the specific regulatory challenge in the barriers of transformation questions.
No, thank you. It was already an idea. And another difference that I've seen is that remote work, it's a concern for Spain. And it seems to be actually that, for example, in the States, they are going backwards on those tendencies, no? So what do you have any data analytics about it, or thoughts about it?
Actually, yes. So we do ask the employers, how do you expect governments to help you to boost talent availability? And then how would you yourself do to increase the talent availability in your company? Well, as I just said, changes to labor laws related to remote work is among the top 5 most welcome public policy measures in Spain for the next 5 years. Mirroring this question, we also ask how are employers planning to kind of offer more remote work and hybrid work opportunities, and this is selected by almost 70%. So there is definitely a need, even from the employer side, to expand the talent base that they can choose from. when it comes to remote work, through remote and hybrid work opportunities. And also this will help us attract perhaps employees with caregiving responsibilities, employees that might not be able to commute to work every day. So this is considered an effective measure, both from the government side, loosening the regulations, as well as from the business side to kind of use it to increase the talent that we can choose from.
Okay, thank you. And another thing that I've seen that Spanish employees are more concerned about AI and the use over the average. Huh? What do you have any trend that you see that this is going to come in the future, or any thought that you can bring us about this, the use of AI and the comparing to the jobs and the jobs retention and yeah.
So maybe I will talk more about how AI is going to shape jobs in Spain and at the global context. And I will invite my colleague Ximena to talk about how AI will change skills with her expertise. So first, I want to start with a very staggering figure that I didn't share just now. 95% of the companies in Spain are going to adopt or run AI programs in the next 5 years. It's almost everyone, 95%.
And it's one of the highest, no? It was one of the highest answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a really high figure. And how can we, and how is AI going to change the nature of the jobs? We have another series of study that talks about, that look at the specific task level. It's called the Jobs of Tomorrow paper, that look at how is AI going to change the nature of different jobs. And then even in the future jobs report, if we look at the fastest growing jobs, they are all technology jobs. If you look at the fastest declining jobs, they are all jobs that's getting retired and displaced because of the technological trends. So I do think AI is going to shift the labor market in a double-edged sword, creating a lot of job opportunities while displacing a huge number of jobs. So this is something that companies will need to keep in mind. And then I will let Ximena comment on the skills perspective.
Thank you very much, Ricky. So along the same lines as Ricky mentioned, we observe that AI is changing skills both in a positive and in a negative way, creating some increase in use, but also a decline in use in other skills. At the global level, we can see that AI and big data, technological literacy, and networks and cybersecurity skills are driven by technological change. And also by the use of AI specifically. But something that you couldn't see in the picture of the fastest growing skills is that AI is also causing the decrease in use of other set of skills, such as reading, writing, and mathematics. And although that sounds a little bit scary, it's because AI is now assisting, helping assist in many tasks in writing and in summarizing large amounts of text, that we observe this reduction in this skill. But the biggest reduction that we observe that is due to technological change and is manual dexterity. Those are the only two skills in this edition of the Future of Jobs report that report a negative increase in use, a net reduction in their use in the upcoming years. And manual dexterity is not a surprise because it has been declining in importance for workers, for employers since the last edition of the report. But those are the global figures. Once we look at different industries, once we look at different countries, you can observe that even these skills that are decreasing in use are demanded in other setups. For instance, manual dexterity is a skill that is demanded in African countries where we don't observe a negative decrease in use. For the Spanish market specifically, I mentioned before that as among the fastest growing skills, we have AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, as well as technological literacy. These are skills that are being driven by AI. And even our human-centered skills, such as resilience, flexibility, and agility, it's also in part driven by new technologies and the need for workers to adapt to change.
Yeah, which is normal. Thank you. Thank you, Ximena and Ricky. We have a question here about that Daniel asking that the aging of the population and the lengthening of work life. Sorry. Something is happening with my tab and I cannot read it. But well, Alarico, I'm going back to Daniel Sam, but I cannot read it now. But Alarico is asking that from your analysis, may we consider that this upskilling and reskilling trend will provoke another war of talent at the same time as many jobs disappear or lose presence? What do you think? Who's answering? Ricky or Ximena?
I'm happy to take the demographic question on the aging population and the lengthening work life, and then I will let Ximena take the reskilling, very important reskilling and upskilling question. So yes, aging population is becoming a real reality in the sense that even in Spain, we find that 46%, so almost half of the employers, expects aging and declining population to transform their organizations. However, on the other hand, in developing countries, we actually see the reverse trends. Growing working age populations are transforming a lot of the labor market decisions and strategies in the next 5 years. And how are these trends translated into specific jobs and skills? Well, our report actually has the full list of jobs, skills, and we are launching a data dashboard that talks about, that kind of allows you to explore how trends is translated to jobs and skills. But I'm happy to do like a very high level preview of how are these trends translated into the changing nature and the changing jobs and skills. So for for aging population, we see that this is likely to increase a lot of the jobs that are related to care, personal care, healthcare. And then for growing population, we actually see a lot of the jobs coming from the education sector. And this means that combining these two trends, we see that demographic change is in total considered as a net job creator rather than a job displacer. And this is translated into the specific changing job aspects. And in terms of skills, maybe Ximena will know better than me, we actually see the demographic trends translated into a lot of increase in terms of social emotional skills. And this is, you can actually piece the puzzle in the full report. And then perhaps we'll ask Ximena to come in for the reskilling and upskilling question. But then the demographic shift is fundamentally shaping the labor market among other top trends, and we cannot really single out a particular trend and to look at how it changes the labor market. And companies are already taking measures to budget for the impacts of demographic shifts.
And in Spain, the demographic shift is more the aging than the growing. So
exactly. So I see the 46% view aging population as a transformative trend, whereas only 22% see growing population as a trend that impacts.
It's a reality.
Yes.
Before jumping into the skills question, maybe I can add a little, an additional set of information to what Ricky said. What we observe with the growing age population trend, how it affects the skills, is that it's also affecting skills in a different way than growing working age population. For the increasing age population, we can observe that this is increasing the demand of empathy and active listening in many countries, which makes sense. And for countries where the talent is growing, the skills that are more demanded in the market are talent management skills. So all of these trends are affecting skill sets that are being demanded in a different way. And we can invite you also to read the full report. We have a specific section on how these different macro trends affect both jobs and skills. And now regarding the upskilling and reskilling question, there are two sets. Maybe I can point out two things to answer this question. The first one is that, as you can see, the only constant in the labor market is change. And skills gaps are by far, and they have been also in the previous edition of the report, the biggest skills gaps in the labor market are the biggest barrier for companies. So companies have had to adapt, and we have observed that in the data. They are investing in upskilling and reskilling, not only to find talent within their organization and help workers acquire the different skill sets that are changing very rapidly and are being demanded, but also to accompany workers towards in their job transitions when they wish to pass from one role to the other. So that's one way of addressing the skills gaps. Another way that it is also part is, as Ricky mentioned, is that they are also welcoming policies from the public sector to upskill and reskill workers. So instead of a work of for talent, as it was described in the question, I think it's a way for employers to adapt to the market, to be able to quickly acquire the skills within their organization, and also to know better which are the skills that they will need to invest on for future employers.
Yeah, I guess that Alarico is having the same trouble that almost all of us we are having on hiring some profiles that most of them they are related to top skills that you analytics and top skills that you mentioned on the report, no? So that's why we call it war of talent, because sometimes it is, no?
Yeah,
yes.
But also, as my colleague Ricky mentioned, there are also other ways how employers are investing in attracting talent, and that is in some cases to allowing more remote work options, or investing in the care economy to be able to support employers with their caregiving responsibilities. So I think all of the, not only upskilling and reskilling are important, but also accompanying workers with other areas that also they are looking for, such as working remotely, which has become now the norm, and very importantly, investing in the care economy.
In the care economy and the remote, if I don't remember well, I remember well, it was one of the most concerned points for the Spanish employers. So we are going on the right direction, no? I guess. Thank you. Thank you. So there's one new message. Oh, no, thank you. Yeah, Alarico was saying. Okay. Thank you. So if there's no more questions, Ricky and Ximena, when is the next report coming up? 3 years? 2 years?
2 years. So this is a biannual publication. The next Future of Jobs will be in 2027. Sounds like very far away, but it's approaching.
I guess you are already working on that, no?
Ideating. Learning from the feedback from, like, in occasions like this one, to think about how we can better collect interesting data, analyze them, in a more reasonable way, and then amplify the findings through different networks and communities. So these webinars are definitely super helpful to help us collect the feedback from the audience.
That's great, because this is a win-win situation. That's very helpful, super helpful for us that we are all working in some organizations and having some of those situations and having to talk with our bosses or the managers about upskilling and reskilling and why investing on it. No, so it gives us also a lot of information to work with. Thank you. In any case, yeah.
In
Ximena,
the meantime, maybe between the different editions of the Future of Jobs report, we also invite you to look at our other reports that also deep dive into different topics. Our publications about the impact of technology on jobs. We recently launched also a toolkit to support public employment service on how to leverage technology for better matching. And we have extensive work on both the jobs and the skills. As the Future of Jobs is a diagnostic piece, we kind of deep dive into different topics throughout the year. Please keep looking at our insights. We will be working on future products related to the Future of Jobs in the meantime. So there is always new things to discover.
Thank you. Maybe you can put it, because as we discussed before at the beginning, we will be able to share the slides with the participants. So when you'll send them to us, maybe you can add some of the references to those reports so we can just click and go to them, and it will be great. Thank you. Thank you. In any case, thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Ximena. Really, thank you very much, because it has been one thing is having the paper and reading and going through it, and the other one is seeing the passion and the analysis that is behind it. That sometimes it seems easy, and I'm sure that it's like 2-3 years work on it. No, so thank you very much. Hope to see you in sometimes and to discuss the rest of the results. Okay.
Of course.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. And let's work together to collect more insights and data in Spain to help us better continue this discussion in your country.
Gracias. And thank you to all the participants and the questions that we had. And that's it, I think. Muchas gracias. Gracias, Ximena.
Gracias. Un placer. Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias a vosotros.
Gracias.